Welcome to Valley of the Sun Real Estate Show. Anything and everything you need to know when it comes to your real estate needs right here in the state of Arizona. Hello, Arizona, and welcome to this episode of Valley of the Sun Real Estate Show. And if you want to see past episodes or hear past episodes of the show, you can always do so by visiting my website at www.valleyofthesunrealestateshow.com. And from there, you can check out my YouTube, any social media that I'm a part of. You can also email the show. So if you want to reach out to the show, I definitely want to hear from you. And if you got any feedback for the show, I definitely want to hear from you. So if you could, because that's the only way that I have to improve the show. So, and I'm trying to do some different things here with sound effects and things like that, hopefully to entertain you a little bit more, because some of these subjects are a little bit dry, although they're important. They are a little bit dry. So I try to spice that up a little bit with some sound effects. So hopefully you guys enjoy the sound effects there. And if you're listening to me on iTunes, I want to do this little plug too. If you're listening to me on iTunes, please write a review in iTunes, as it is one of the only ways that I have to improve the show and get your feedback. So really appreciate if you could take your time to do that. Okay, so we got a couple different things here I want to talk about today. And I apologize about the little bit of a delay to get this podcast out there. I've been pretty busy. But one of the reasons I was busy was because I got this unexpected phone call here last week. And it was from 5-Star Professionals. And I am actually a recipient of the 2015 5-Star Mortgage Professional Award. And it's going to be, I'll be mentioned, I don't want to say featured, but I'll be mentioned as one of the top originators here in Phoenix.
Honestly,
that's Phoenix, right. Arizona, and Phoenix Magazine. One of the ways that they selected me was that they did they made phone calls to past clients of mine, just randomly made phone calls on people who recently purchased their home and asked about their experience with me. And I got good reviews, which I'm very, very proud of, because I do take my job very seriously, and I do take your situation very seriously. In fact, a lot of times, I lose sleep on certain things. So I do take it very seriously, and I do appreciate the opportunity to help you with your American dream in purchasing a home. So it is very, very dear to my heart, and so I'm very proud of this award, as it is something that was very random. They called me, and I will be mentioned in the October issue of Phoenix Magazine, where they will have the Best of the Valley, and so I'll be mentioned in that magazine. So do look out for that. All right, so let's get right on to a couple of these topics here that I want to talk about today. Number one is I just saw last week, and you may have heard through the news. It's not really that big of a newsmaker, but in the mortgage world, it's a very big newsmaker, and that is that California-based RPM Mortgage was fined $20 million over a loan scheme. And so I want to get into this loan scheme here a little bit and what they were doing, and you can always check out one of my past podcasts where I say, hey, I think the title is, what you should be asking your lender or something like that. So this is why you should be asking your lender certain questions, because California-based RPM Mortgage, as I mentioned, got fined $20 million over this loan scheme. And how it worked was that when you lock in your interest rate on a loan, there is inevitably either money that is paid to the lender or money that you have to pay. It's very rare that you have an exact interest rate. In other words, when you lock in your interest rate, for example, at say, whatever the rate is, and I can't mention rates on air because then I got to do APR, but let's say you lock in your interest rate. If there is excess in rebate, what they call mortgage, rebate to that rate, then that money, according to the CFPB, is your money as a consumer. Now, what mortgage companies were doing and what RPM was doing, they were taking that excess that's baked into that interest rate, and they're putting it into a bank, a rate bank, if you will, or pool bank. And then they were later using that money as it accumulated to help with other clients and paying for maybe their appraisal, maybe paying down the interest rate on their loan so they could keep the loan. They were using that money in other places. And that's not the intent of of locking in the interest rates. It's just not in the spirit of the Dodd-Frank Financial Reform Act. See, when you lock in the interest rate, that money is yours. It is absolutely yours. So one of the things that I do, and I've always done, but not all mortgage companies here in the Valley do this, and not all mortgage companies in the country do this. So very important. I'm going to tell you how to kind of combat this here as a consumer. But what we do here, or what I do, is I take that money, whatever that money is, and I've got no qualms whatsoever about showing you the actual interest rate. In fact, I'll show you the lock confirmation, because it doesn't bother me one bit, one way or another, to send you this lock confirmation. But I'll take that extra money and we'll either buy down the interest rate if there's enough money in seller concessions, if you have seller concessions, or I do a principal reduction on your loan. And I've got several clients here that I've done that with that can attest to that. So you get that money back. When we lock in your interest rate, that is something that you negotiated, and so that money is yours. It's not mine. It's not the company's. It's your money because you negotiated that through the interest rate. And that has been the ruling here through the CFPB, and that is why California-based RPM Mortgage got fined so much money. Now, let me go back here and tell you how to combat that. You want to ask your lender, once you lock in the interest rate, you want to ask for the lock confirmation. And on the lock confirmation, that lock confirmation is going to tell you how much in rebate, if any, that you are entitled to. So it might be 0.25%, it might be an 1/8%, it might be 0.5%. Now, if it's generally above 0.25%, most lenders will give you that back to you in the form of 0.5% or 0.25% or whatever it is in lender credit. And so you may see that in lender credit. And with the new TRID that's coming out, and I'm going to be doing another podcast here on TRID, and we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about that, but on the next podcast. But for right now, ask for the lock confirmation, and that way you can see exactly how much money you have into that interest rate, and then you want to compare that percentage, and it's always going to come as a percentage, but you can take that percentage, multiply that into your loan amount, and that's going to tell you how much money the lender can credit back to you, and you want to make sure that they match up. And if they do, you're with a good lender. If they don't, and then you need to bring that to the lender's attention and make sure that you get all of that money back. Now, part of this $20 million, let's get back to that. $1 million of that is fine to the actually $2 million of it. $2 million is going to go out to the Bureau's Civil Penalty Fund, but the other $18 million is going to be refunded back to the consumer. And these are the consumers that were affected by this over, or under credit for these interest rates. So now what's going to happen is these customers are going to get money in the mail, and then they're going to be notified of who their loan officer was. Now, this is huge. I mean, I've got people actually right now that work for RPM Mortgage calling us, wanting to come over and work for us, and we're like, hey, sorry. And it's kind of an unfortunate thing with this mortgage company because some of these loan officers are good loan officers. They didn't feel like they did anything wrong. They just weren't knowledgeable about what was going on. But because they have this open investigation, if you will, attached to them, and we are licensed as loan originators, I can't, with good conscience, hire that person. So they're really kind of hurt. And think of it from their perspective. Who's going to want to do business with somebody who wasn't as upfront as they should have been? If I'm a consumer and I get a letter in the mail or a check in the mail and my loan officer's name is attached to it, well, I'm never doing business with that loan officer again. And if I'm a realtor who referred that loan officer to this client, then I'm never doing business with that loan officer again either. Whether that be right, wrong, or indifferent, it's just one of those things, guilty by association. And so, unfortunately, there are going to be some people that are going to be pretty hurt by this. So this is big news here in the mortgage industry. And, we do believe, or I do believe, that these next couple of years are going to be the years of enforcement with the CFPB. We're going to start seeing more and more of these fines handed out by companies or to companies for practices that they've been practicing over the past few years, and they've gotten these warnings and they just haven't done it. We've seen it with title companies. Title companies are no longer providing any type of flyers or any kind of extra, marketing materials for realtors. We've really kind of cut that out, at least here in Arizona and Phoenix. They've really cut that out. I'm sure they've done that across the country. So we're really starting to see the hammer coming down here from the CFPB in all areas of mortgage lending, and really starting to enforce some of these rules. So that is that on the CFPB ruling and on RPM mortgage. So if you're a consumer out there and you've had or gotten your loan through RPM mortgage, you may be getting a refund, and you may want to check into that there. Now, the other thing that came up here this past week that I just thought was just, I don't even know what to say about this. And I think it's been shot down in the House or something. But I wanted to kind of mention this. I can't even believe this was even a thought, to be quite honest with you. But President Obama here, and I'm not a political guy, okay? Don't read into this. There's no bashing going on. There's none of that stuff going on. This is just the facts. And the fact is that President Obama wanted to force affordable housing into affluent communities. So he basically wanted to put Section 8 housing into affluent neighborhoods. Now, I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say, because this is just, it's just crazy to me. It's just absolutely crazy to me. I don't understand how somebody can even have that thought. Could you imagine Section 8 housing in Beverly Hills? I mean, first of all, I thought that, didn't he run his election last time on raising taxes and spreading the wealth and all that kind of stuff? And, the American people decided that was the way of the future and the direction of the country. And then he wants to put, for the people who he raised the taxes on, he wants to put Section 8 housing right next door to them. And if the communities don't allow Section 8 housing into their community, then that community is then penalized by the government for some of the funding that they may receive, whether that be flood or I don't know whatever kind of funding that they would get from HUD, but they then could be penalized in the future for not allowing Section 8 housing in their community, which is just putting communities it's just backing them into a corner. It's just strangleholding them. So President Obama wants to diversify wealthy neighborhoods in America, and his administration plans to force the affluent communities to accept the affordable housing, such as Section 8. It's not just Section 8, but just overall wants to put lower income housing. And I gotta say something here. Part of being an American is that you work and you get rewarded for the hard work that you put in. Unfortunately, and this may be a little bit controversial here, but this is my podcast, so I really don't. It's not that I don't care. It's just that there are some people, unfortunately, that just don't deserve to be in a house. They just don't deserve to be a homeowner. They've shown no will to want to succeed. They've shown maybe they're a drug addict, maybe they fell in hard times, whatever. And I understand that's all a period of one's life. But there are certain people out there who just don't afford homeownership in their book. Renting, great, fine, no problem. I'm not saying anybody should be homeless. Nobody should be homeless. But there's some people who just don't have that level of responsibility that comes with homeownership. And if I'm somebody who is very successful, very driven, very wanting to better myself, my community, my surroundings, my sphere of influence, then I don't want to be brought down by somebody who doesn't see that. And so typically people move to places where they feel most comfortable. And so, and part of that is being, if you do hard work, then you want to protect that asset by being surrounded by other people who work hard. And so that is just the way it is, unfortunately. And it's just part of human nature. It's part of our society, not just here in the United States, but across the globe. So it's a human thing. And so to force people who don't have the same ideas or same goals or same, values, if you will, into my backyard, I think is just a little bit arrogant. But the housing, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, they released some new regulations that would set aside taxpayer money to build cheap housing for poor people in rich areas. Under the rules, the federal government would be able to overrule zoning laws of more than 1,200 local governments and force the communities to comply. So this is the government just, in my opinion, overreaching their boundaries. If I live in a certain community and we have certain, zoning laws that were voted on by the people we voted into office to represent us as a community, for the government to come in and say, no, we don't like what they're doing, so we're going to do what we want to do, I think is just way overstepping their boundaries. Each state has their own set of laws, and I don't think the government should, as a whole, come over and step on local municipalities' rules and regulations. And, one of the measures put forward was actually from Paul Gosar, who's a Arizona Republican, and he's putting out this stoppage, if you will, to this law. He's just like, this thing is ridiculous. So shout out to Republican Paul Gosar here to protect our local communities. So hopefully this won't pass, but I just thought that this was just a little bit too much. And so it just made me speechless. And I thought that, if you didn't know already, I don't know if you're news, if you listen to the news or not, but if you have any comments on this, good, bad, different, your opinion on this subject, I'd love to hear from you. I think it's outrageous. I think that the government should have no say-so on who lives next door to me. If somebody wants to, go out and get a job and work hard and be successful, as every American has the right to do, equal right to do, by the way, then more power to them. My hat's off to that person. But the person who just shows up just because they're entitled, or they have this entitlement theory that they just are owed this because of this or that or whatever happened, and the government just owes them something, I don't believe in that. And so I believe in hard work. I was in the Marine Corps, and we worked hard and we did our thing, and you get rewarded for hard work, not for sitting on your tail. So hopefully this thing won't continue, but hey, I'd love to hear from you out there as a listener. I would like to get your thoughts on this. So do write the show, email the show, go to my website, connect with me there, and let me know your thoughts. Maybe send me a tweet, whatever it is, and I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, next show, hopefully I'll be doing here on TRID. I'm doing some of the training and stuff on that, which TRID, if you don't know that, you'll have to listen to the next podcast. That's a little teaser there for you. But it is very important. It could change a lot about how we do mortgage lending. And you as a consumer, it could affect you as well. So do stay tuned for that, and do write into the show. Let me know your thoughts. And I look forward to hearing or seeing from you very soon. So until next time, happy house hunting, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Jason Date, NMLS 220798, mortgage banking license 0119128, equal housing lender. Sound effects provided by soundwave.com.